Welcome to SDHC's Health and Wellbeing podcast. Before we begin, we want to emphasise that the information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date content, it is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your doctor or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Remember, your health and well-being are invaluable, so prioritise consulting with a medical professional for your personalised care. Hi everybody, you're listening to the Health and Wellbeing podcast from South Downs Health and Care with your host Dr Nick Harvey. The purpose of this show is to help people understand how they can help themselves and others with their health and well-being. Every episode I interview an everyday expert to find out the latest evidence and advice on how to improve your own health or help others. This month I welcome Fler Wright for a discussion on the topic cancer, how it affects families and how we can help families. Fler Wright's the co-founder of the Wolo Foundation, based in Seaford, East Sussex. She lives with her husband, Justin, and their 3 wonderful children. Fler enjoys spending time with friends, taking country walks, celebrating Christmas, and savouring afternoon tea. In 2018, Fler was diagnosed with breast cancer. After completing her treatment, she was embraced with life with renewed enthusiasm and a deep appreciation for every moment. Her personal journey through cancer has profoundly influenced her outlook, reinforcing her belief in living life to the fullest. Together with Justin, Fler has navigated numerous challenges, including the loss of her parents, the journey through IVF, and her battle with cancer. These experiences have fostered a strong "we only live once" philosophy. They are dedicated to enjoying life, whether that means indulging in cake, travelling, or taking time away from work. So welcome, Fler. What a lovely thing to encourage people just to enjoy life. Can you live that every day?
Yeah, hope we try to every day. Life is a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it? But it's those little moments in between that we need to live for and cherish.
Yeah, and I find we all get really caught up in the busyness of life, isn't it? Talking to you just leading up to this, I think, crikey, like what you've gone through and now what you're almost putting yourself through, it must be an incredible strain. I'm interested to understand how, a little bit more about how you coped with what you went through in 2018 and beyond, and how you and your family cope with how you're helping others now.
Okay, so when I got diagnosed in 2018, it was completely out of the blue and a complete shock to us all. There's no history of cancer in my family. We'd not met anyone else, luckily, that had been diagnosed with cancer, so I didn't know anyone else, let alone anyone else my age, which was 38 at the time, let alone anyone else with 3 young kids. And so life kind of changed overnight and I stopped work. I was self-employed. So financially, it was really difficult. My husband just took time off to care for us and the children. And after my treatment finished, so I had chemotherapy, radiotherapy, had 3 surgeries in total. And now I'm absolutely fine, but I'm in the chemical menopause. So maybe that means I'm not fine. So it's still impacting on us now. We kind of, after we went through the journey, it was we were shocked that there wasn't really help out there, aside from the basic clinical support from the doctors and nurses and clinical nurse specialists and things. We weren't eligible for any help, financial support, because of our circumstances. And like I say, we didn't know anyone else that had been diagnosed. So it felt quite isolating, lonely. And luckily I'm, Mrs. Positive anyway. So I've got a, serious can-do attitude. So I just steamed on through it. But we really wanted to help to encourage people to live their best lives, really, because it often takes a trauma or a diagnosis or something like COVID for people to sit up and think, oh gosh, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I living for the weekends? When actually it's those little bits in between that really make a difference and really make your life whole and your heart full. We'd always kind of lived by the YOLO, you only live once ethos as a family, because of the things that have happened in the past, with losing my parents and then having IVF, failed IVF, and then having twins, and another baby, a prem baby who was only £1.11 when she was born. She was in hospital for 6 months. You know, it's just continuous, what seemed like continuous trauma, or, you know, blips, I suppose, in life. And so we grew up together, we got together when we were 17. So, and all of that's happened since then. And then the cancer was kind of like, oh, you know, when are we going to get a break? This is, you know, too much. But we dealt with it, and we really wanted to try and help other families going through a similar situation, because there wasn't anyone else to help support us through it other than our friends and family, of course. And that's kind of how Wolo was born. It ignited a little flame inside our hearts that we just thought we don't want anyone else going through it the way we did it. And that's how it all came about.
You talk about it so matter-of-factly, but what an amazing thing to take such challenges and turn them into something so
Turn
positive.
into positive, yeah. Yeah, lots of people say that. I think it just comes naturally to us, and we could never have envisaged it. It's been 4.5 years now since we registered as a charity. It was completely new to us at the time, and I think our charity registration came through 10 days after lockdown happened, or 10 days before lockdown happened, sorry. So all of a sudden, you know, someone, if you'd have said at the beginning of the year, oh, don't worry, you can have a whole year off on full pay and do what you like, no one would have thought, oh, yeah, right. But that's exactly what happened. Not for me, because I couldn't work, but my husband got furloughed. And we had our charity registration come through. And so we just spent the next, I don't know what it was, 10 months, 12 months in the end, building up the charity, doing loads of Zoom calls, meeting people online. We did fresh food deliveries to the families we were supporting, that sort of thing. And then, you know, by the time the furlough finished, Wolo had moved on so much. Actually, we made the decision for Justin not to go back to work and for us to do this as our full-time jobs around our family.
Oh.
Yeah.
And how's that balance working now?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle, the balance, but we really try hard to practice what we preach, because there was a time where we did get a bit of burnout, you know, because it's in our nature to want to help people, but we need to help ourselves as well. You know, we need to put our oxygen masks on first. So now we have set work hours. We try our best to do set work hours, separate phones, and having some structure with team meetings. And we've got an office now, so we're not in our home anymore, because during lockdown it was all at home. We didn't have a spare room, so it was all in our hallway. So it was really impacting on our day-to-day lives. So now we've kind of tried to split it up as much as possible, but it is a really emotive topic. No 2 days are the same. So we've grown a lot as people during the time, and we like to say we stay close to people that feel like sunshine, because there's people that just get it. You know, they want to live their best lives as well. And not every day is like that. You know, there's ups and downs all the time. But we've got a really good core team of staff and of trustees who really want to help us pursue that goal and to encourage other people to do the same.
And can I take you back to pre-diagnosis?
Yeah.
Is that all right? So you obviously noticed a lump at some point. Is that right? And what happened between first noticing it and actually getting that diagnosis? Did you put that off? Is that what happened? So
what happened was I was just watching TV in like a vest top, and my hand just fell on my boob, and I felt something. I thought, oh, I've not felt that before. My husband felt it. He saw me, and I didn't really actually think much of it. And that was probably 10 days before Christmas. And then I didn't really think anything of it. And I spoke to a friend early in the new year, and she's got like a surrogate mum really to me. And she said, Fleur promised me that you'll get it checked. So I said, okay, got it checked. And I seemed to have to wait, 2 weeks for my GP appointment. He checked and he said, oh, I don't think it's anything, but we'll, cross the T's and dot the I's, and we'll refer you in the 2-week window to the hospital. So I waited another 2 weeks. Then I saw the consultant at the hospital. He said exactly the same thing. I don't think it's anything to worry about because you've not got any history of it. You're young, blah, blah, blah. But just to cross the T's and dot the I's, we'll do an ultrasound. So I had an ultrasound. They said there was something there. They thought it was a fibroadenoma, which is just a a lump that can stay there. You can have it removed or it can stay there. It's not cancerous or anything. But she said, just to cross the T's and dot the I's, we'll do a biopsy. So I waited another 2 weeks for that. Biopsy came back. So I waited 2 weeks for results of that and then got called in. I said, oh, can't you just give me the results over the phone? Because I had a letter as well confirming that they thought that's what it was. And so they said, no, we don't do that. So I went in on my own because I'd already had a letter to say that that's what they thought it was. I went in on my own and they told me that it was cancer and they were really shocked. And yeah, so it was a huge shock because obviously I didn't think that's what it was going to be because that's what they'd led me to believe. And he said, you're the reason that we cross the T's and dot the I's because there's always someone that, that we don't want to miss it. We don't want to miss it. So then it all was a bit of a whirlwind after that. I had surgery to remove the lump first. And then they told me it was grade 3, which is the most aggressive grade. And then they said that there was one of my lymph nodes was positive. So I had to have another surgery to remove some of the lymph nodes in my arm, just to make sure they got a clear margin. That then made me develop lymphedema on the right-hand side. But anywho, then I started chemo, then I had radio, and then I decided to have a risk-reducing mastectomy on the other side. So all in all, it was about 18 months worth of treatment I had 18 months of work before I went back. So it's quite a long journey. And then because it was estrogen positive, I'm now in the chemical menopause, so I have a Zoladex injection every 3 months, and I take exemestane every day to keep my ovaries asleep and stop my body producing any estrogen. So chemical menopause is tough. I'm 6.5 years post-diagnosis now. Every little ache and pain, you think, oh, what's that? Is it coming back? So I'm proactive now. I have thermal imaging scans. I pay privately for them. I pay privately for kind of like an MOT, because the NHS will only scan you if you've got signs and symptoms, and I don't want to wait for that. I want to make sure that everything's okay. So those things show me that I'm low risk, or, that there's, I had a cyst on my ovary recently. And so I had that checked out and it was fine. So it never kind of, I think there's always in the back of your mind, there's always that ache and pain, but generally there's always a reason for the ache and pain. Like you've been to the gym and worked extra hard, or you've been swimming, or you did some gardening and that's why your arm's hurting. So generally there's always a reason for it. And, I feel fine now. And it's just keeping that positive attitude and positive thinking. There's no reason for it to come back. So if I'm doing all these things, I've changed my lifestyle a lot. Not that I had a terrible lifestyle before, but doing this job, we speak to so many people, do so many things. So we've kind of learned how to change our lives for the better, cut things out that we didn't realise were harming us or could be harming us. And it's about educating other people so that they can make informed decisions about what to do with their lives moving forward.
Thanks for sharing your journey. So to anyone listening that's affected by cancer or who's got a loved one who is, what's the key message you'd like them to take away from our discussion today?
I think if you've got a loved one that's going through it, they have to be ready for support. So it's such a shock when you get a diagnosis. It's really normal not to know what you want or need or what's coming next. Your head feels a bit like a jungle. So if it's you that's been diagnosed, I think it's normal to feel like that. And your family and friends will want to do all that they can to rally around and support you. I personally found it really difficult to ask for help, but that's something that you do need to get over, because people will just bend over backwards. And actually, there was a lot of people who I thought would be there for me, but didn't know what to say or what to do. And it was people who I didn't really know. It's acquaintances, I guess, school mums and dads and things that were turning up on the doorstep with meals for our family that really stepped forward and stepped up, and which was quite a shock, which was great. And also the fact that each journey is really different. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Every cancer diagnosis is really different. To be led by your team as well. Try not to plan too much in advance. I think day to day is enough, because you know, if you try and plan, or, you know, you have chemo every 3 weeks or whatever it might be, tablets or every week, and then your levels aren't quite right, it's very disappointing. So I think just go with what your body feels and be guided by the professionals. And also, if you are a loved one of somebody that's been diagnosed, I think being there is enough. Just as long as you know that they know that you're there if they need you is more than enough, because so many people don't know what to do or what to say, and will kind of scoot away and hide because they feel so awkward about it, or they've had a personal experience that makes them not want to talk about it. So yeah, I think that's really important.
Thank you. You mentioned earlier the importance of empathy over sympathy.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah. When I was diagnosed, I just really didn't like the sympathy. I hated people looking at me with the sad eyes, and having known what we'd been through before, you know, we always seem to get the short straw, our family. And so people were just feeling really sorry for us. And it just made me recoil. I just don't like it. And so what I really wanted was the empathy. I really wanted to meet other people that have been through a similar experience. And I think that's really what people with Wolo find really reassuring, that there are other people that have been through a similar experience, some of that are over it now, that life does go on. It's not a death sentence necessarily. And it's really to find other people that can empathise with what you're going through, what your family's going through, what your children are going through. If your children are at school, for example, they might feel like they're the only 1 or 2 children in the whole school that have been affected by it. And then we do a family event and there might be 100 children running around, and they think, oh, actually, there are a lot of people going through it. So you're not alone. Just a lot of people don't like talking about it. It's going to affect 1 in 2 of us. So it does affect a lot of people, and in different ways. So yeah, I think the empathy and meeting other people going through a similar experience is key to building your support network, and is also key to keeping that positive attitude in life in general. Yeah, empathy is really important, and that's something that people feel really comfortable talking to us about, things that they find really difficult to talk to their families about. For example, death, or writing a will, or whether they want to be cremated or buried or whatever it might be. They don't want to upset their family, so they don't want to talk about it. But actually, if we give them an opportunity to talk about that in a safe environment, you know, we end up having a laugh and a joke about it, ironically, you know, because we've all thought about that. When you're faced with mortality, it's a big thing. And my husband doesn't feel the same as me, because he hasn't been faced with his mortality. I have. He doesn't like talking about funerals, what I want for my funeral. He doesn't like talking about death in general. Whereas I want to plan all mine out. I want it to be as easy as possible for him and my children. Not that, I think I'm going to die soon. I'd just rather get it all. I feel completely comfortable talking about it, but it's a really individual thing. And so it's important to give people the opportunity to talk about it if they don't feel comfortable to do that with their loved ones, because they don't want to upset them.
You've obviously developed the skill over that time to have those empathic conversations. Do you have any phrases or questions that you tend to rely on to start those conversations with people?
Actually, I'll just be honest. It's just because there's no point fluffing around it because we are all going to die. Ultimately, just using that as an example, so actually we do a holistic assessment, which is online. And one of those questions is, we have developed this thing called the shoebox, which is a document that we created during lockdown, which has got all the things in, like where the dog goes to the vets, or where the key's kept for the bike lock, and all the silly things. So often we use that as a way in, and if they need, if they've got everything sorted, or if they want help with anything like that, we talk about that, and it opens the conversation. And actually, because we've been there and done it already, we did that through my own personal experience. When my parents passed away, we didn't know where anything was, what online account passwords there were, all those sort of things. And we put a lot of information on our website so that people can just sit and read when they want to, when they've got time to do that. So we do periodic Zooms as well, like with a soul midwife, for example. So if they want to join that, they can, but we record it so that if they time doesn't feel right, not just with a soul midwife, but with nutrition experts and lots of different people, then they can watch it as they feel that they want to. And I think we've got private Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats and things. So we're kind of always talking about things that, I suppose, taboo topics. So we just try and give as many opportunities as we can for just to plant the seed. And then we do obviously family events. So we are then actually talking in general to people. Oh, did you see this? And then that opens up the discussion. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've talked about people who are affected by cancer. What about the people who help people with cancer? So do you have any critical kind of takeaways for the healthcare professionals when they're supporting people or families impacted by cancer?
I think the biggest thing is about social prescribing, which is basically where people have a knowledge of what the local services are, the local charities, and they're able to signpost people to those. So I think having a knowledge of their local services, charities, and people that can support other people, like even if it's support groups. Obviously in Brighton, they've got the Horizon Centre, but Eastbourne doesn't have anywhere like that. So it's about GPs knowing what's out there and how they can refer people to, or give them leaflets, for example, about all the different things that are available in their local area, so that then they've got the information to use when they're ready, because it is overwhelming at the beginning. So yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway, just to know what's around and what they can share with people to be able to support them on their journey.
Thank you. We'll talk about that journey then. We've talked a little bit about your kind of personal journey, which is obviously interwoven with that of your families. What are the kind of common emotional and psychological challenges that whole family face?
I think when you get a diagnosis, people automatically begin to worry about the future and worry about what would happen if they're not there anymore, which is a completely natural thing to worry about and think about. And it's only until they have surgery or find out exactly what their cancer is and what their treatment journey is, because the unknown is difficult. But when they get their treatment plan, it feels like a way forward, and you're able to work towards and see the end goal. I also think it's really common for people to worry about how to tell their children. And we work with a variety of people now that specialise in that area, because people worry about how their children are going to take it. Obviously, cancer is a bit of a taboo. Death's a bit of a taboo. Often, children are really resilient, and often children don't necessarily have the experience of that. They don't think, it means that mum or dad or my brother or sister's going to die. They just think, they're just going to go to hospital for a little while and then, maybe lose their hair and then they're going to get better again. And they have no idea how long it might be, or, have concept of time. So it's important to give them the tools they need to be able to discuss it openly with their children. As I say, we've found people that have created resources to be able to do that through role play, through play therapy, that sort of thing. But I think that's probably the biggest emotional concern that people come with us, how to tell their children. Also, I think they worry about their finances, because they worry, if I've got to stop work, or I only get sick pay for a certain amount of time, or I don't have insurance. It's really tough, the financial part of it. So they do worry about that, how they're going to cope moving forward. And they also worry about their health and well-being, whether it's their fault that they've got cancer, or what they can do to be able to prevent it from coming back. And in tandem with that, it's also about, they worry that they're going into a big negative downward spiral, and they don't want to give up, but they feel that there's no hope. So it's about encouraging people to have a positive mindset and giving them the tools to be able to learn how to have a positive mindset and positive thinking. So we work with a lot of other professionals that help people to do that. So there's quite a few emotional concerns. In fact, I think it's 85% of people that contact us have emotional concerns, and only 40-something% have physical concerns. So it's a huge aspect which actually we need to address. And it's such a big spectrum as well, from how do I tell my children to, I don't think I can be bothered with this anymore. I don't know what to do. It's huge. So there's a lot that is out there that people could be, how they could be supported. But I think the emotional side of it is really challenging, and is something that we really try to support people with to improve their quality of life.
So I can hear that you offer some support through Wolo for the emotional side of cancer burden, but you also engage professionals. Is that your main kind of take-home message on that element? Is it talk to a professional, talk to anyone?
I think, talk to professionals. I mean, also it's about, like I said before, learning who's out there and what support is out there. Obviously, the financial side of it is difficult, because if you can't afford to have counselling, or, because counselling on the NHS has got a huge waiting list, but there are other local charities out there that you can see quicker. So it's about finding out what is out there and accessing those, or putting yourself on waiting lists if you can, because you can always say no if the time comes around and you feel okay by then. And talk to other people as well on when you're having your treatment, if you're in the day unit or in the hospital, because everybody knows somebody different. And read the leaflets, look at the posters on the wall, and actually just really see what's out and about out there that can support you, like the Look Good, Feel Better courses. There's so many different things that are out there that, it's about finding out what they are and accessing them if you can.
That's a real take-home message for us then, isn't it? That there is a hell of a lot of support out there, and it's around trying to navigate where that support is and what the pick and mix is that's going to fit for you and your family. And so I guess, as professionals, we need to try and get a handle on what that support is so we can guide families through it, but also families who don't know where to go maybe can prompt their GP around a referral to a social prescriber.
And Macmillan do that. You do social prescribing, and obviously Macmillan have got a presence nationally. So even if it's referring to them, so that they can have a meeting with somebody from Macmillan, and they're able to access, or they know what the local services are. So that could be a really good starting point.
Okay. Thank you. And then obviously locally yourselves, you're pretty well plugged in by the sounds of it.
Yes. We did our social prescribing training through Macmillan. So it's, contact us if you've got a child that's under 16 and you live in Sussex, then do contact Wolo, because we're able to support you and help to improve your quality of life on your cancer journey.
Thank you. So I'm building a picture in my mind of almost this pick and mix of things that will help an individual. Is that the main thing that families, I guess, are going to take to build a support system to navigate the challenges of a cancer diagnosis? Is there anything else that you're thinking?
Yeah, well, when I was diagnosed, I created a WhatsApp group with my kind of key friends and people that I knew were doing school run daily. So if I needed anything, then I would post on that. And then, people would pop something round or pick the kids up for me. That really helped. We like to call them cheer teams. So it's involving them, keeping them informed of what's going on and not being afraid to ask for help if you need it. Also about other charities, that can be accessed for support. The Ruth Strauss Foundation is also a really good one, as well as Macmillan. But I think building your own cheer team and not being afraid to ask for help is, people will bend over backwards for you because they really want to do something proactive. And so they would absolutely please, can you just drop something round so I can have it for dinner or put it in the freezer? They'll be on it. They'll do it. Don't feel embarrassed about asking, because they will want to do something, and actually just doing something small like that, they'll feel like they've helped in some way. So that's my biggest bit of advice, I think, for that.
I like that, a cheer group.
Cheer team.
And it must be quite a burden sometimes because you've actually got a lot of people who really want to help you, I think, when you're struggling like that, and they don't know how, they want an in. So I guess something like that creates this way where your nearest and dearest can support you. It feels like it could be a bit of a burden on you when you're suffering with cancer, almost thinking of how can I involve people? And is that not true? And
I don't know, really. I think it depends on, obviously, the logistics of your own family, where you live. You might live out in the country, and some people are really private people, in which case they might not want to, do that. They might just want to bumble on their own and just read quietly things on the internet and not actually reach out, because it does take a little while for people to actually accept the situation. So, yeah, I think it's very different for everybody, and you just have to go with what feels right for you.
Yeah, thank you. We've talked quite a lot about different resources. So you've mentioned Macmillan, yourselves, some others. Are there any other resources that are out there, with some proven success that you would want to share?
Yeah, I think the Fruit Fly Collective, they're an organisation who helps support families through a cancer journey. They've worked with paediatricians and oncology teams to build a set of resources, age-appropriate resources, also with schools they've worked with, to help discuss cancer. There's different packs for different age children. So there's they have a little like a plush toy in them, which varies depending on the age of the child. So there's one for parents and there's one for children. There's also a parent guide in the book, in the pack, so that parents can read through and see how to use all the different resources in the pack and then decide what's appropriate for their children. There's also a different pack if you're terminal, so it helps to encourage discussion about that. There's booklets in there with photographs of what a pump looks like, for example, where mum or dad or brother or sister would sit when they're having chemo. So it's very factual and very age appropriate, and they've been a really big help to the families that we're supporting. And they also do seminars, they do courses as well for parents who have been affected by cancer. So they've got a lot of resources out there. So the Fruit Fly Collective is something I really would recommend. And Little Lifts is another one, which they are specifically for breast cancer patients, but they have put together a box of resources for people that are just about to go through chemotherapy, tried and tested things. It could be like a heat pack or ice lolly molds or certain chewing gum or boiled sweets or all the different things that people have found really helpful. And then there's a little pack in like a spiel in the pack about why each different thing's in the pack, and it's free. So if you've got breast cancer, then I would recommend going to their website and ordering yourself a pack. You can also buy the pack. We have them, we buy them off of them for people with don't have breast cancer that have other cancers as well, because they only have their funding for breast cancer. And you can buy them as well from them directly. So they're another really good organisation. And the last one I wanted to mention was Brighter Outlook. So they are connected to Brighton Hove Albion Foundation. They have a physical exercise program. It's about keeping moving. It's all free, and it's anyone that's been diagnosed with cancer is eligible if they live in East Sussex, Brighton Hove.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. So no shortage of support.
No.
On our last podcast, we had Rita Minas-Judd talking about mental health and well-being. And her question was, from a mental health capacity, what's the most impactful thing family goes through when someone is diagnosed with cancer?
I think it's the worry of leaving family behind. I think that really, the facing your mortality really is tough. And that from the point of diagnosis, there's a period of time until you know exactly what you're dealing with and exactly what the plan is, and it's a bit of limbo. And I think that part of it's really difficult, because you are kind of in the unknown. You're waiting for someone to say, this is what's going to happen, this is how long it's going to take, and they're worried in the meantime. Oh gosh, how is so-and-so going to cope without me? How are my children going to do this? When actually it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be passing away. Medicine is amazing. They can do so much now. So I really think it's the whole facing your mortality, accepting a diagnosis, accepting the treatment plan, and then moving forward from there. It's such a big shock and a big life change. It definitely impacts on your mental health and your emotional health of you and your loved ones, because they're also feeling the same thing. They just might not want to talk to you about it.
Incredibly traumatic.
Absolutely it is. Your life just changes overnight, because generally speaking, it's you can't foresee it at that diagnosis happening. So that's what happened to me. It shocked the professionals even, so when people, well, we've got this, don't know how much time we've got left, but we've got one guy, he was diagnosed with stage 4 liver and pancreatic cancer, and he got given 3 months to live. And that was 3.5 years ago. He, completely changed his life around. He did all this research, changed his life around to the point, and he had chemo, don't get me wrong, to the point where actually his tumour shrunk enough for him to have surgery. They removed his tumours, he had a bit more chemo, and he's been cancer-free for about 2 years now. It's amazing. So it's about taking those little steps every day towards living your life.
Yeah. Never give up.
No, never give up. Never give up, because there's always something out there, someone that can help you. Also, 1% difference. If you're just if you're finding it all too much, even just walking up and down the stairs a couple more times a day than what you did yesterday is 1% better than it was the day before. So it's just tiny little steps forward, but that can make a huge difference over the course of time. And some days you won't feel like doing much at all. But even if it's just, having a healthier meal than you would have had before, or, I don't know, buying organic milk instead of normal milk, just those tiny little changes that can actually make a difference overall.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's that 1 degree of change, isn't it, over a long distance?
Absolutely.
Difference.
Absolutely.
Reminds me of a statistic I've seen around lung cancer even. So it even relates to smoking, which may cause lung cancer. If you stop, you're going to live longer despite having the lung cancer diagnosis. So, I feel that in my own profession as well, that where it's incredibly tempting to give up, isn't it? And just not make changes. But those changes can impact in a really profound way, can't they?
Absolutely. Even if it's deciding that you want to go swim in the sea and you've never done it before, it's liberating, and it's actually really good for you. So it's about learning the things that you could do, all the opportunities that are there for you to try, just to make that 1% difference, or more than 1% difference in that case, but 1% difference each day will make a huge difference overall, will make you feel like you're being proactive as well, so that you're not just giving up.
Yeah. It's really tricky though, isn't it, for people who are feeling very negative to switch that mindset. You managed it. And I guess you turn that negative into lots of positives. You touched on how having positive people around you helped on that. Do you want to expand on that?
Yes, we like to say that it's staying close to people that feel like sunshine, because there are a lot of people around who are negative and toxic, and it's about, stress has got a lot to answer for. So it's really nice to be able to meet like-minded people, and people that make you feel good about yourself, people that you can be genuine with, and that you don't feel that you need to put on a facade. So find your cheer team and the people that make you feel like sunshine, and you will change your life for the better.
Thank you. Really powerful. It's really tough, isn't it? Because you describe people who may be toxic, who probably got their own problems too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And like you said earlier, you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first, and sometimes highlight to those people where some of the problems are, because they can also seek that help then potentially, can't they?
Absolutely. But they've got to be open to the support, because I think it's just accepting, in general, if you just accept that's how they are and you don't want to be like that anymore, or spend so much time with them because they don't make you feel good about yourself. I know sometimes we can't choose our family, for example, can we? But it's just not letting that impact on you. You can't change anyone else's behaviour. You can only change your reaction to someone's behaviour. So just try and be as positive as you can, and accept that some people are different, that everybody's different, actually. But this is how you want to live your life. And there's lots that's out of your control, but by only just thinking about how you react to things can have a huge impact on your life in general, and you're never going to be able to change somebody else's behaviour. So it's just about, how shall I say it? It's just your reaction. All you can change is your reaction. So by accepting it and moving on, it doesn't affect you as much and much better.
I think this links back to involving kind of psychologists or counsellors too, isn't it? Because we get so influenced emotionally by our thoughts without quite realising it, do we? And we are responsible for how we feel. And it is up to us if we allow somebody to make us feel sad or down, isn't it?
And also it's historic, it's about your upbringing, hereditary, the behaviours that your parents had. And I've done a lot of work on that myself, and it's life-changing. It really is.
It's so powerful to invest in yourself like that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely is. You've got to, you're in charge of your life, you're in charge of your happiness.
Changing the topic completely then. Let's move on. Because the upcoming podcast is with Nirmit Upadhyay, who belongs to an organisation that's created an app, a digital tool to try and help people with chronic health problems. And I wondered whether you had anything to ask him around the use of technology in either chronic health or it might be mental health, because it's all so intertwined.
It really is. It sounds very fascinating. How can everybody access it? How could it be accessible to all? I think would be my question. Obviously, most people now have a smartphone, but there are still some people that don't or choose not to. So how would they be able to access that information and the wealth of support that's out there if they didn't have access to that?
Thank you. I think that's a wonderful question, because we are so caught up in newfangled technology, even new treatments and things, that there is this widening gap of inequality, isn't there? And you must see it all the time. And we need to start out by thinking, how can we make this accessible and the benefits accessible to everybody?
Absolutely.
I will challenge him on that. It's tough because these are companies who also need the money, but we need as a system to fight to make sure that everyone has access. So it would be great to hear from his perspective. Thank you very much for being so open with your journey, and really infecting me with some enthusiasm around how you can really make a difference in such a big way, from taking some of the negatives in your own life. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Health and Wellbeing podcast about the effects of cancer on people and their families, with Fler Wright and me, Dr Nick Harvey. For more information and resources, check out our website sdhc.org.uk. If you've got any feedback or suggestions for future episodes, please email us at sdhc.feedback@nhs.net. Tune in to our next episode, where we'll be speaking with Nirmit Upadhyay about chronic condition management with digital tools and lifestyle change using health apps. Please take a moment to subscribe to help support us in supporting others with their health and well-being.